Welcome back to Houston Life. For the past couple of nights, many parts of our area have dropped below freezing, and since winter lasts for another 2.5 months, it's really important to be ready for the next freeze.
Yeah, it's so true. Here with tips to help protect your trees and other outdoor greenery, Director of Permaculture at Urban Harvest and gardening expert Carol Burton. Welcome back to Houston Life. Happy New Year. It's great to see you. This is something the last couple nights, a lot of the, as Tessa just mentioned, a lot of the areas around Houston dropping below freezing. The next few nights a little dubious, but you say for people in the Woodlands, Spring area, this is particularly critical.
Yes, for protecting your plants. And if you are within the Metro Houston area where it is warmer and we're not going to get that freeze precipitation in the forecast, but if you want to do some extra things to protect your plants, you can definitely do that just by collecting your most beloved potted plants and either putting them in the garage or collecting them on the porch for some extra protection.
Yeah, we always want the tips because I think some people are like, okay, well, you know, the succulents, are they just as good in the cold as they are in the heat? Like, that's kind of a question that I have for my things that are maybe on the balcony. I see you have an aloe plant there. What do you suggest?
Yes, and so this aloe plant is just like has so much water in it, and I would cover it outside. In fact, if you have any leaves, you can cover it and just give it a little bit extra protection because the forecast says it's not going to freeze, but just to be on the safe side, because I want this aloe for later for, you know, medicinal purposes, for skin healing. And if it's in a container, you know, this one I put in my garage, but I also have some aloe in the garden that I've covered.
Okay, so covering the dead leaves around the base, I think this is really interesting because a lot of us, if you live in the Houston area, which you likely do if you're watching this program, we're familiar with this type of covering, right? This is a fabric covering, it's not plastic. That's also a critical differentiation, right? Why do you want to avoid plastic?
Right, so you do not want to put pure plastic sheeting covering on your plants because it can damage the plants. So when the moisture under the plastic and the plastic touching the plants, that's when it can freeze right there where the plastic is touching your plants and cause damage.
Okay, it's almost like a suffocating action, right? It's locking that freezing air inside the plant.
Exactly. And so this technology in creating this froth cloth is that it locks in the heat, but it also breathes. It is also porous so that it doesn't damage the plants, but it protects the plants.
And you could just use like a regular, like an old towel or an old bed sheet, is that correct?
That's correct. If you don't have the frost cloth, like right now is a great time just to stock up because we're not through winter yet. We still need to get all the way through February and the top of March to be free of any frost. In the weather.
And then you think we're in the clear after that?
March 15th is our last frost date. Yeah, the Ides of March.
Good to know. So we were also just talking about watering. I mean, watering, it would seem like it's like us. Is that going to make the plant colder?
It seems counterintuitive,
right? So keeping our plants hydrated, just like people care, staying hydrated, we're healthier, we're more resistant to fighting illnesses, disease, inflammation. The same is true for plants. If you can keep them hydrated, they're going to bounce back from the weather fluctuations and become more resilient when you water your plants in.
This is so interesting to me. Let's say it's 9 p.m. It's late at night, right? Or almost bedtime. You know a freeze is potentially coming overnight. Is it too late to water then? I mean, if I know that other viewers, because I've been in this situation, like, wait, when was the last time I watered the plants on our balcony? Should you water it just in case before a freeze is coming?
Well, even if it's 9 p.m., it's not too late because we're getting the freeze forecast and the lowest temperatures of the day have been super early morning, about 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And so at 9 p.m., it's still not too late to be out there. You can water your plants. Just basically keep in mind, if you have containers and they're on your patio, they could be dried out with our extra wind, with it extra windy. But if your garden is primarily outside and we've had this rain, the ground is pretty well saturated right now.
I forget about the wind too. I mean, that can actually make the plants really cold as well?
Yes. So it's making the plants cold, and also it's increasing transpiration, so they're actually losing a lot of moisture.
Interesting.
Okay, so balcony plants are more susceptible potentially to being dried out. You have a jug of water with you today, and we talked about this earlier in the program. You're saying that if we put a jug of water next to the base of a tree, like a fruit tree, that can actually provide a source of warmth for the plant?
Yes, exactly. And so when we do extra protection for our plants, you put a jug of water, use an empty milk jug, water bottle, or even a bucket that you can fill up. So when it freezes, it releases heat. And that way, in the wee hours of the morning when it's starting to freeze and that water starts to freeze, it'll release heat. And especially if you have it covered and tinted with your frost cloth, it'll trap in that heat and keep your plants warmer.
Isn't that so
Fascinating.
interesting?
And how far should those jugs of water be spaced out? I mean, is this for mature trees? Is it for brand new trees, maybe recently planted?
So recently planted trees and also all of our subtropical trees, such as citrus. So if you had replanted citrus in your garden, it's critical to protect them, especially at the base. You want to protect your plants at the base so that they can come back. And one jug per small tree or plant will do. And if you really love that plant, for instance, our Meyer lemon in our community garden is in full bloom and it has baby budding fruit. And so we put 4 jugs around it.
You're like,
Just
this
to make
one
sure, yeah.
needs to
And
make
then,
it.
and then we did a double wrap with the frost cloth because we wanted more protection for the little flowers and buds that are coming through.
Oh, that's so nice. And that is crazy that will emulate some heat after that. That is the biggest hack I've ever heard. Yeah, that's great. See, we got to go to TikTok with that one.
Hey, Carol Burton, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And
Thank
again,
you.
winter lasts for another 2.5 months, so be prepared or prepare your plants for the next freeze. They also have a great partnership, Urban Harvest and Trees for Houston. Please go to our website, connect with Carol, learn more about Urban Harvest and their efforts in our community. You know the drill. Just look for that scene on Houston Life section of HoustonLife.tv.